Welcome to WholeCEO with Lisa G. I'm the best-selling author of The Boss Weight Loss. I'm bringing you the top tips to be unstoppable. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to actually pull up a chair with today's top experts in mindset, weight loss, business, and more. Learn our top tips so that you can have more energy, be fit and resilient, feel unstoppable, unshakable, and unbreakable. He's a speaker, entrepreneur, and multi-eight-figure business owner specializing in disruptive innovation and profitably scaling companies. He has 18 successful automated operation businesses with gross revenue of over $180 million. He's an expert in finance, business, and psychology, and has advised hundreds of CEOs and entrepreneurs of how to grow and scale their companies to optimize them. Welcome to the podcast, Preston Brown.
Thank you, Lisa. Glad to be here.
I'm so happy to meet you. What a wonderful track record you have. And I was researching you before we started the podcast, and I see that you started businesses being an entrepreneur right in college.
Yeah. Not necessarily the way I'd recommend doing it, but it was a fun journey. I actually dropped out of college because I had a professor that was extorting me for free work at a coffee shop, and I started realizing that, like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm making more than this guy.
And yeah, I read that.
Work for him.
Yeah,
I'm in business school, and he's teaching me how to do business. Maybe he should be paying me. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, well, it worked out, obviously. So let's jump into the content. I want to know about your formula for living on purpose and with purpose.
So formulas are my life. I love a good formula. Like, if you can get the strategy and the tactics to get where you need to go without all of the work and the hustle and bustle, kind of that like shortcut, if it will. The formula for living on purpose is real simple. And it's so simple that people don't give it credit. But it's a 4-step process. And it comes with a few premises that I'm going to go over first.
Okay.
I have a belief that problems are the meaning of life. Okay. The leading cause of death for women over the last 40,000 years is what? Childbirth. Wow. So that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
And then the best moments in life are overcoming adversity. Adversity is another word for problems.
Right.
You know, it's a good book, and I'm a Christian. Whatever anybody's spirituality is, if I trigger you, just put your finger in your ears, and then you won't have virgin ears, will be solved. And God said that I knew you before you were born, which, if you want to go home and you're leaving this life, the process is called death, and that's a problem. So we go through this entire life, and maybe the biggest problem is thinking we shouldn't have any problems. What if problems were this opportunity, this gift, this upside potential? Like, what if before a woman could lean down and smell a flower, you had to take a seed and shove it into a pile of shit and add water for a few weeks, and then she'd lean down 6 inches above a pile of shit to smell the flower? Like, what if the problems were the gifts? And so the formula for happiness, the formula for success, and it's so simple, is this. There's 4 gifts, and when you maximize all 4 of them through a 4-step process, you get what you want in life. You are a human being, and when you get into being, find a problem, study it, really study it, like you would your God, like you would your spouse, right? Then you decide, when you understand this problem at a high enough level, you move into human becoming. You start moving. You start taking some action. Eventually, action gives you measurable results, and then you move into believing. You might have some new beliefs. Then, once you believe, and you believe firmly enough, and you can get rid of the old BS, and you have some new belief systems, then you move into belonging. So it's being, becoming, believing, belonging. There's 4 gifts: time, okay, in being, talent in becoming, testimony in believing, and treasure in belonging. And so it's this simple 4-step process. And here's the trigger point. Here's where you know you actually need it. If you're having an emotion that you would not choose, guess what? Right. Consciousness is what makes us human. Then I would presuppose to you that maybe subconscious is subhuman. And while human beings dominant species on the planet because of our mastery of patterns. And
Yeah.
our subconscious is what gives us the ability to have all those patterns. Who's driving? Like if you're having an emotion you wouldn't choose, then are you some kind of robot that has to operate outside of what your own choices would be? And so that's when you have to take time and be like, wait, what's going on? I wouldn't choose this. And you start into being, and you move into becoming, and you move into believing, you move into belonging, and the truth starts setting you free through that channel.
I love that. I really especially love the gift that problems are, especially in these disruptive times that we've been living in for the last 3 years. And there's always a gift that comes out of having the rug completely pulled out of you if you
Yeah.
can find resilience and grit and the silver lining. So that's something I'm really fascinated with.
Oh yeah. And I would say the resilience and the grit, those are some interesting terms, right? Like to have the resilience and to have the grit, like it almost like it implies this struggle that you're doing a struggle.
Yeah.
It implies hustle your way through it. And here's a thought on the idea of hustle, right? Like if my wife walks into our bedroom in lingerie, there's not one part of my brain that says, oh man, now I have to hustle. No, let me tell you, all the energy you're ever going to need to do something you love is going to come from passion. So passion's cause, hustle's effect. And and it gives you that grit, it gives you that tenacity, it gives you that just excitement and that joy and that zest and that lust to go to whatever's calling you, right? And so
Yeah.
it when you fall in love with problems, and I'm pretty sure they call it falling in love because you have to fall. There's no controlled landing implied. Like it's a fall in love, right?
Yeah. Lately.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
then you're excited about it. You enjoy the journey. Like you start moving into this process. Ooh, what's next? And there's no bad anymore.
I love it when you come at it from curiosity and passion instead of feeling like it's a problem. Just it's like showing you a new direction. That old way of doing things wasn't working before the pandemic, so now it's time to move into the future. And I know even before we started this podcast, you were telling me about how AI has been around for a long time. 40 years, did you say?
Yeah, and I didn't even know that before. Gosh, it was about a month ago. I hired a chief technology officer,
Yeah.
and he worked for this AI company. I'm a real estate guy. I'm a business guy. I tune companies. I work with people. I'm not a big technology guy. And he was telling me some of the history of machine learning and the history of AI. And he's like, yeah, dude, this is 40 years old. Like you were born
Wow.
when they were coming out with this. And then he looked at me and said, how old are you? And I was like, well, I'm 40. And he was like, how many kids do you have? And I was like, well, I have two. And he says, how many kids do you think AI has? And it hit me like where he was going. If you
Wow.
hit a button on a computer right now, what are you doing? You're telling that computer, execute my command. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
if we know, and you can go watch a Netflix video right now today, that Trump got elected, regardless of your politics, like there's a Netflix video about Trump using this company called Cambridge Analytica, which had studied 5,000 data points on the average swing voter. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and then like in the next election, what did the other side do? Like Biden's group, they leverage social media to do the exact same thing in a different way. Like, and I'm not trying to make a political comment. Poly means multiple, ticks means blood-sucking arachnids. They're all bad. Okay, that's my opinion. But both sides leverage this technology. And what they did, they figured out what's anchored in your psychology and what can we do to pull that trigger to guide your behaviors. They hit the same enter button, the same action button, and they have created AI in every single human being. You are the new AI. I am the new AI because they figured out how to make us play stupid games and win stupid prizes, to quote Taylor Swift. Follow this logic, okay? And this is going to get highly controversial, but you want content that'll make people listen?
Yeah, let's do it.
I did a speaking engagement on Saturday, and it was beautiful because I said we as America talk about really dumb things now. It's very interesting. Like I'm a big proponent that everybody deserves love and everybody's created equal and everybody deserves equality. Now, I do have an issue with putting a man who's trans into a woman on National Women's Day. We should have a National Trans Day. There's nothing wrong with trans people feeling loved and being accepted. But let's not take something away from women to do it. Like, we don't have to do that. I'm all for Black Lives Matter. I love that. But it's silly when you say all lives matter is bad. Like, the fact that AI has anchored and triggered people so much to get us finding a bad guy, good guy situation and everything, it's not controversial to say all lives matter. It's not controversial to say Black lives matter. It's not controversial to say cops' lives matter. It's not controversial at all to think people matter. And
Right.
but the fact that we actually will pick a side on who matters more is AI, which has 5,000 to 50,000 different data points on every single human being, knowing how to engage your behavior. So here's the question I ask. If the politicians, who are generally the dumbest among us, have figured out how to leverage us this way,
Yes.
ask yourself if corporate America has done it. What if every large-scale company on earth just learned, wow, I can go get 5,000 data points and I can piss you off or inspire you or make you laugh or do this, and you're going to go buy the shoes I make or the house I built.
Right. Emotions
Clothing.
are what trigger buying.
Mm-hmm. They're going to trigger your emotions, your energies in motion, using these technologies to
Yes.
make you a robot, to make you the new AI, to make you the child of this technological computer AI. And even though you're a meat suit and a meat machine, they've learned how to trigger your emotions and control your behaviors. And so anytime you're having an emotion or a feeling that you wouldn't pick, well, who's controlling you? It's a really good question to ask. And then if you stop and you say, hey, what's this formula? Being, becoming, believing, belonging, time, talent, treasure, testimony, the 4 gifts. And you leverage all 4 of them. You get to take ownership of who you are again. And nobody gets to tell you, no matter what the anchor, no matter what the trigger, no matter what the politically relevant thing. I mean, like, they call political parties political parties. I like to go to parties that are fun. Those two are kind of like angry in our country. Like, let's find better parties. Like, those should be called shows, not parties. Like,
Yeah.
or like hate mongering organizations, not parties. But people have been leveraged into this almost tribalistic, like, if you look at corporate America, and I'm a business guy, we always talk about define the customer profile, right? Define
Right.
the customer profile. Well, they want you in a smaller box, smaller box, smaller box, smaller box, smaller
Yeah.
box. The smaller the box we put you in, that's your identity. And the smaller we can make your identity or your prison, the more we can control your behaviors.
Wow. That is so fascinating about AI, and that has been around for 40 years. I want to know, since you're a business guy, I want to talk a little bit about your foundations for company culture.
Sure. Yeah. So culture, whether it's company or anything else, has 5 foundations. Okay.
Right.
And let's see. Just take you through all of them, and we can do it in a company, or we could just do it in society as you're seeing it, right? What's the first and most important foundation in company culture? It's the premise of safety and danger. You study human history over 40,000 years, and people always generally congregated around a leader that could protect them. Well, the funny thing about our time is we don't appreciate anybody that's dangerous. And we all worry a lot about safety, even though the most dangerous people are still the ones that are supposed to protect us, but now we hate them for being dangerous. It's a really, hey, I'd like you to lead me and keep me safe, but don't do it by being dangerous. And so the old strong man or strong woman identity is now a smart man or a smart woman identity, because the bigger your brain, the more free thinker that you are, the more ability you have to take your people to the next level. And everyone's looking for a leader. Even leaders look for leaders. I mean, most leaders will tell you, get a mentor. Well, that means they're looking for leadership too. Everyone is looking for a leader. If you're a leader, you need to understand safety and danger. And if you want to understand how people are controlling you and what the culture is, you need to understand safety and danger. So next one is production, okay? Are we going to produce a few things for a lot of people, or a lot of things for a few people? There's no wrong answer. It's just knowing what you're going to get into. If I'm going to be a custom home builder and I'm going to build 10 homes a year and they're going to be perfect, that's great. Or if I'm going to be a production home builder and I'm going to build 1,000 homes a year, but I'm not really going to give you the same customer experience, but you're also probably paying less. Like there has to be alignment in the design. Okay. Right. Next one.
Yeah.
Exactly. Next one is quality. Now you'll see people do the opposite of this. Like, every employee wants to build a quality product. Nobody wants to go into an organization or a group for that matter, because you can use this in political parties. Like if you go say which is a better party, Democrats or Republicans, it depends on who you ask, huh? Like if you're at one rally, they're going to tell you one thing, at another rally, they're going to tell you another thing. And if you're hanging out with a bunch of independents, they're going to say, I think they might all be idiots, you know? And so,
Right.
so the opposite of quality is this thing called narrative. It's when you tell stories about the other group.
Right.
So if a home builder walks in and says, oh yeah, all those other guys build crap, he's using narrative. Okay.
Right.
Now, if he says, here's why we're great, we do this, okay, well, then he's preaching quality, right? So you got quality, you got production, you got safety and danger. And let me see, I'm trying to go through all of my points here. Oh, another one, critical, tribal triggers. Okay. Now, tribal triggers ties a lot into your branding. All right. Like, I'll give you an example from one of my companies. My companies, we have a very authentic and aggressive brand strategy, which is normal to human nature. Okay. Like we use the sex sells marketing. It's a home building company, and we'll say, be the sexy neighbor. It's on all of our signs. I mean, I don't know any man or woman that doesn't want to be sexy. Like, I think, like, we all want to look good, right? Like, we don't want to feel like we look great. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't imply run around naked or anything, but like, be the sexy neighbor. Sometimes we get a little playful and we're like, size does matter. And then at the bottom, we build bigger houses. Yeah, I mean, it's more playful and funny and all this, but then because we have this kind of, we build a more high-end luxury product. It's not custom, but we're building for a market that wants to feel significant, wants to feel sexy, wants to be loud, wants to be that. We also have a sign that says, and it's right at the front door, we reserve the right to refuse service to assholes. Now, you're going to get two types of folks that are going to fit our product. One is the narcissist, because they're fairly significance driven. And one is just a loud, playful person that wants to be fun and have fun and love and all that, right? Well, this is a very different person. We don't want the narcissist. We want the fun person. So if somebody walks in, they're like, that sign's offensive. This is not your product, dude.
Bye-bye.
That's a different kind of culture, right? Like, so you put the cult in the culture by understanding who you are, what you do, what do you bring to the table, okay? So let's see, you have safety and danger, quality, production, tribal triggers. Oh God, I'm missing one. I just looked. It'll come to me in a second. I haven't given that course in a month or two here, but yeah, there's one more that I need to give you here in a second. 5 foundations of culture. Why am I losing my brain right now? Just had this giant lunch. Yeah, it'll come to me.
That's okay. I actually started this podcast because I wanted to help people become unstoppable during disruptive times. And I never knew 3 years ago that I was going to keep on going. So do you have any sage advice for like CEOs, executives, founders, entrepreneurs on how they can be unstoppable in these uncertain times?
So the first part would be just what we talked about at the beginning, which is managing your emotions, your energies in motion, being in control of them and not letting them control you. Second, build frameworks for everything. Okay. And when I say everything, I mean the 5 foundations of culture that I built, like it was just more for whenever I had a cultural problem in one of my organizations, I wanted to go see, where is it limited? Okay. What's impacting it negatively? So there's always a framework. Next thing, document everything. So like if you keep it all and you structure it all and you've got it all where you're always able to go back and grab it, that's going to help you. Probably the biggest one, identify your stage of business. So this one, this has been the one that's really caught in my heart and soul recently, because I started asking a question, well, how do we solve everyone's problem? Not just some people's problem, but everyone's problem. And I realized that when I stepped out of a bunch of my companies and I went and built one company and made it really big and learned a ton doing that. And then I stepped into all my other companies, but they were at different stages. I had companies that were kind of still in the startup stage. Then I had companies in other stages. So you need to know what your stage of development is. And there's 7, and I'll go over those with you really quick. And you solve a different problem at a different stage. And this I mean, this little piece, this 7 stages made me tens of millions of dollars because I've watched all of them just start upticking. I mean, this will probably result in the next few years in hundreds of millions of dollars of new net worth because they're growing at such a radical pace because now we have a structured set of where we're solving the problems. So stage 1 is you're an entrepreneur, you're a wannabe, you're not even an entrepreneur yet, that you have a mindset problem. Now, why is it important to know that that's stage 1? Because you could be at the top level of CEO, you start getting a divorce, all of a sudden that person that you love, that you're in love with, that's supposed to be in love with you till death do us part, and they're leaving, that can take you right back to the mindset problem. So you might have gone through all 7 stages, and you can go right back when some significant event in life happens, right? So it's important to always be, where are the foundations of every stage, okay? And so even if you're past it, don't underestimate it. Shit happens. The constant life has changed. So once you've overcome a mindset problem, and mindset's called mindset because you set it, right? Like you set your watch.
Right.
Then you go into the startup phase. Well, startup phases, they have to customize to the customer. Okay. Like normally when somebody gets into business, they're passionate about some idea, some problem they solve. Every sale is a solution to somebody's problem. So when you're passionate about that, your customers aren't going to speak your language. Like I can't go into the middle of Mexico and be like, all right, y'all speak English now. They're not going to do that. Like, I need to go learn Spanish. And so I have to be able to align my product offering to my customers' needs. And then you got to run a litmus test too. Like if you don't fit these 3 things, it's not a business. I don't care what you say you are. You must be productive, must be moving, can't measure what's not moving, must be profitable, or if it's a startup, have a profitability model. And it can be as simple as, hey, I can acquire this for $3, I can sell it for 10. That's a model. But if you don't have something in a profitability model, it's not real. Okay. And then it has to be a purpose. Let's remove one just to see what happens, right? So if you remove purpose, it's an investment. Okay. If you remove profitability, hobby.
Right.
Okay. What if we remove production? You're a con artist. Ooh. So if there's no movement, but you're still collecting their money and you love it.
It has to work together then in the formula.
Huh?
It all has to work together then. I love the mindset. I love that you start with mindset because that's something, and choice. Like, and a stimulus happens, like someone throws a brick at you, you have a choice. You're gonna throw it right back, or you're gonna hold on to it and process it first.
Yeah, exactly. And especially for entrepreneurs right now where, hey guys, winter's not coming, winter's here. Right. Are you going to sell? Are you going to ski board? Are you going to freeze to death? What are you going to do? You have a choice. And so that mindset issue, you can react to fear, you can react to faith. The good book says the faith of a mustard seed, not the fear of a mustard seed. I mean, fear, that's false evidence appearing real. It causes blame, which is being lazy, making excuses. Oh shit. It's there's all these issues that pop up when you're guided by fear. So you gotta set your mind, set your heart, set your skills. And once you start setting all that, that's step 1. You go into the startup phase, you solve the other problems there, but you have to become very exceptional to succeed, right? Well, then you get into this operational entrepreneur phase. Operational entrepreneur phases they have new problems. They have to learn. This is not a spectator sport, it's a team sport. You have to start hiring people, you have to start adding processes, you have to, get all that rolling. Eventually, to get to the next level, which is entrepreneur, you need to delegate the leadership. And that's when you're hiring your first director of operations, your first manager, your first measurer to run everything for you. Now, this is normally a small business, and entrepreneur is an interesting stage because you have a new problem. Your problem is cash flow. You're doing the same revenue you did at operational entrepreneur, only now you have office expenses, payroll, software, systems, and you're like, crap. So I own something and I got a pay cut. What do I do? So now you have to learn scaling to get in the next phase, which is operational megapreneur. There's normally a pivot here. This is where the home flipper becomes the home builder, the hard money lender. And then there's also the mastery of scaling. Everybody tries to scale everything at once. Well, guess what happened? To get into entrepreneur, you scaled capacity by scaling your team, right? So now you must scale sales, then you scale brand, then you scale margin, then you go back and scale capacity again. And these are like marriages. It's one at a time. You don't do all 4 at the same time. But if I had 4 wives today, I wouldn't be on this podcast. I'd be dead. One of the 4 would have killed me already. I wouldn't have made it to talk to you today, Lisa. So you marry one, and then you divorce that one, marry the next one, marry the next one, and you keep going in this cycle of the different 4. What you're going to notice is you're going to top line goes up, bottom line goes up a little bit, top line goes up, bottom line goes up a little bit. And this is scaling. And sometimes when you're scaling capacity, and this is the interesting part of scaling capacity, it's not always scaling teams. Sometimes it's refining processes, solving the problem that you have and also the problem that caused it, okay? Which means you have to add new processes. Everybody wants to build this big organized business. Yeah, no, you don't do that. You build a big disorganized business, then you refine it, you shrink it, you cut it down to size a little bit. And that's part of scaling capacity is, hey, let's do a little less better. So it's sales, brand, margin, capacity. Sales, brand, margin, capacity. Capacity always increase costs and then increases efficiency at the same time. So there's an increase and a cut. And you do this until it doesn't work anymore. You do this until you scale and you see top line go, but bottom line didn't go the way you wanted. In fact, it probably got more expensive, which means there's leaky buckets. And those leaky buckets are starting to happen. In other words, it's like you had this plate and food was piling on, food was piling on, food was piling on. All of a sudden, it's starting to fall off as you add to the pile. And so now you need to increase the machine again. This is a highly incongruent time. You're going into the next phase, which is megapreneur. Megapreneur is got to go and hire C-suite executives, normally a COO, an operations officer. Everybody makes the same dumb mistake. They all go get a CEO when they have 10 employees. I'm like, guys, you have 10 fucking employees. Which ones are executives? None of them. So don't get a chief executive officer unless you have executives. Like you be the CEO, okay? Until you're big enough to actually have one. Get a COO or a CFO first, depending on your needs and your skill sets, right? If you're a finance person, get a COO first. If you're not, get a CFO first. And you start getting your C-suite executives. Here's where it's incongruent. People like to promote from within. These are not normally the people you get from within. These are the people that you steal from somewhere else. These are the people moving from another city to come work from you. These are the people that you are taking from some established business, and they have the gray hair. You're not the young guns that you were anymore. And can you build somebody? Yeah, I've done it. It's real hard work. I probably wouldn't do it again. I've had it really succeed one time. And I've had it really screw up several times, so I don't recommend duplicating my mistakes there. As you get your C-suite executives, you have now automated at a higher level. You're a megapreneur. You're rich. Congratulations. Buy your Ferrari. You have an asset. It's a sellable asset. Hell, you can go buy your airplanes, your Ferrari, start reinvesting, but you do have a new problem. You have a new business partner, okay? His name is got the initials IRS, which I think stands for I really suck, or internal, whichever you want. He's going to take your money and he's going to regulate the hell out of you. And then all of the politicians that keep hiring him, having more friends, are going to say the rich don't pay their fair share, which is not fucking true for anyone that ever studied economics. So you don't want to give this jerk more money because you're literally paying this jerk to hate you. It's such an interesting thing. So that's where you have to start learning the tax code and becoming an economist. Okay. And like everybody does pay their fair share. These are just facts. Okay. You either pay your fair share of taxes or you pay your fair share of attention. Now, if you pay your fair share of attention, you start realizing, wait, politicians don't get elected unless rich people give them money.
Right.
Huh. So that's weird. Why would rich people go give money to politicians instead of, I don't know, feeding starving children in Africa? Why would they ever do that?
To
it's
get
the same write-off.
Bills put through that are going to serve them.
There you go. And so those bills, if you start seeing what's in the bills, whether it's bonus depreciation, whether it's like certain like tax abatements around solar and wind, which is probably coming out right about now, whether it's large vehicles, and you start saying, okay, well, you know what? Like, look, I bought 2 airplanes and I rent my airplanes out. The airplanes were a 100% write-off against my income.
Yeah.
And I put a down payment, which was less than the taxes I would have paid by finance. And because they're rented out, I make a profit on them. I bought thousands of units of apartment units because of the multifamily bonus depreciation last year of 100% that was available. I was able to lower my taxable income from what should have been several $1 million down to, I think last year I paid like 30 grand or 37 grand or something like that. Right. So you're going to pay your fair share no matter what. Are you going to pay your fair share of taxes because you like giving the money to the IRS instead of your kids or helping kids in some other country that might be hungry? Or are you going to pay your fair share of attention and be smart and go give your money to somebody that really fucking deserves it? Like maybe helping families somewhere, and I think anybody that loves giving money to the IRS, that's another stupid thing that the AI has triggered them to talk about. It's like, so you're really going to pick that politician or whatever bonehead ass government program that you want to give more money to the military so that we can fund more wars in foreign countries and like watch people die sadly, or would you rather go down to Peru and like let's make sure that people like kids got shoes on their feet and then get an education? Hey, let's go feed kids somewhere. Hey, let's go do something that actually matters instead of giving it to a government that has never proven that they can be fiscally intelligent ever since its inception.
Right.
Which idea is dumb? Which idea is smart? And it's not even a political topic. It's just facts. Like the post office has been around for what? How many hundreds of years? And they can't still figure out how to meet a budget. But we want to give more money to the guys that can't figure it out. So, that's the last phase, is investor philanthropist. And once you get there and you start helping lots of people, I think there might be another phase. I haven't fully discovered it yet. And it's kind of like the businessman / hippie, which I'm working on. I haven't developed it. I can't teach it yet.
Yeah, where you just become like retired and you're still doing good with your money and you still have the tax credits, but it's like a level you'll hit in 20 years kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. But, or I think maybe the hippie is more like the just kind of tapping into the spirituality, like going out and getting a little woo woo. You can make money, but you can also still stay connected and be a love bug.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured that one out yet. Like I'm still in the make money phase. I'm still having fun with that. But I have met some friends who are uber successful and they're like, hey dude, you want to go do a plant medicine journey? And I'm like, what? I mean, cool. And so like, I think there's another level. I'll put that on podcast when I understand it. But my advice to people on those 7 stages, solve the problems in your lowest stage. Like if you're oscillating somewhere between, say, startup and entrepreneur, solve the problems in startup, and then all of a sudden you're just operational entrepreneur and entrepreneur. I mean, it's easier to stand on just 2 steps on a staircase than it is to stand on 3.
So solve the problems that your ideal audience has.
Yeah, solve the problems in your lowest stage of entrepreneurship. Absolutely. You solve that and you're going to advance, and you're going to advance very quickly. I mean, anyone can go and build a $10 or $100 million company in 10 years. Can you go do it in 1? I mean, I've never done that. I've done it in 4. I've never done it in 1. But if you solve those steps, everybody overestimates a year, but they dynamically underestimate a decade. Like, look, if we go back 15 years, 20 years, nobody was really talking about Elon Musk.
Right.
All of a sudden now, I mean, he's kind of a big deal, So let's not underestimate the decade. Let's go solve the lowest stages. And then you can go and change the world, whether you like the Bezos route, the Bill Gates route, the Elon Musk route, or whether you're more like the Mahatma Gandhi, the Martin Luther King, whatever jazzes you can go do it your way, but solve the problems.
I love it. Richard Branson is another one too. He's
so fun.
So where can people find you? And I hope you guys are taking notes, because this is some really good advice all thrown at you really fast.
I'm easy to find. I put all this content out on social media. I am on, I think, all of the social medias now. I've got a team that they bought all the website, theprestonbrown.com. I'm on Instagram, The Preston Brown, Facebook, TikTok. I mean, you name it, I'm there. And so you'll hear this big-headed, little-shouldered, goofy white guy yelling all these business hippie tips at you.
Well, I love your passion, and I think that's really a really good reason that you're successful, is you have strong haters and strong followers. You're not vanilla, and I like that.
Oh, thank you. I'm having fun with it, and hopefully it's helping some folks out there.
Well, thanks for being a great guest on WholeCEO with Lisa G.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks for coming to WholeCEO with Lisa G. After over 20 years helping people lose weight and get fit, I'm so excited to announce that I found the missing link with my coaching. Message me if you want to learn how to look better, feel better, and go faster with a master. Lisa G at lisagfit.com.